Hello, hello.
Alex, how are you?
I'm great. It's been a long time. How are you?
Very good. And it has been far too long, in fact.
Yeah. So I understand you're currently on the train, which is very nice.
Yeah, it is very nice. Although there may be some loud, strange noises coming from the background, but don't worry.
So until some people gather and everything, I will tell you a funny story about a an underground that was being built and is still being built in Tel Aviv, Israel. It's a funny story because of two reasons. So first of all, it's been going on like for ages. I think it's like 30 years that they're trying to build this underground. And this year, finally, the first branch of this underground has actually launched. So when it launched, I was kind of surprised a little bit to discover that it's not really like an underground. It's a tram which goes underground some of the way, but also like overground most of the way. And then when it goes around, it's like, part of the street. So it stops on every red light and stuff like that. So it's like very slow at this specific area. And in order to build it, they turned the entire city into like one big construction site. So like everything is being dug up and closed, and it's like crazy inconvenient for everyone. But the hope is that eventually someday my grandchildren, able to use a modern means of transportation here.
I remember seeing a lot of large like construction sites when I was there, and also asking about like the whether Tel Aviv had a subway or not, and was often met with like laughter.
Yeah, eventually, it kind of started to happen, but in the meantime, it's a complete nightmare. Yeah, so we've been off the air for a long time, and at first it was for good reasons like holidays and sickness, but then it switched to wars and overall craziness. But we are back here today, and with a lot of topics to talk about. And also, a lot of things happened in the world, and I don't mean like wars and politics. I'm not going to talk about that, but we are going to talk about crypto and the good things. Yeah,
Perfect. And yeah, it's been very busy in all regards.
yeah, it was intense. So, like one interesting thing that was sent in the community channel this week is this interesting project which is called Nocturne, Nocturne Labs, and it's basically a privacy layer on Ethereum. So I was asked to kind of I read the documentation that they introduced. So I would like to kind of talk about it for a couple of minutes before we dive into other things. So if you didn't see it, I think it's a very interesting read and interesting concept. So right now there's not too much information about the project. They have the Twitter account, they have some documentation, which is relatively high level. And you can find it by looking for Nocturne XYZ. They have this Git book. And the idea is that you use Ethereum and you deposit yours into this smart contract that actually creates this kind of zero knowledge pool for your funds. And then you can send within that pool, you can send your funds from one user to another. And you can also have like some decentralized exchange transactions or like any DeFi transactions using these funds that are stored in the anonymized pool. Now, it looks interesting, and there are kind of several points that I would like to mention specifically. So first of all, one of the points that they're making immediately in all the introduction and everything is the compliance layer. And as you know, we at Beam also talked about compliance, and compliance is like one of the, I would say, like the topics that are very interesting in relation to privacy. So the way that they implement compliance is using a centralized component. No surprises here. So you basically deposit your funds, and then before your funds get into the contract that can actually do something with them, it stays in this deposit contract for a while, and then a centralized component scans them and checks if they are, I don't know what, compliant with something. And then if everything is okay, they allow your money to be mixed with other people's money. So this is how the compliance layer works. It's a little bit, it's not a little bit, it's very different from what we envisioned in Beam, where you as a user provide opt-in compliance, like when you are requested to report on your transactions. In this case, your money will not be leaked if some centralized third party, I don't know who they're going to use eventually as the provider, but they will their funds before they go into the big SIM. And this is how supposedly it should be implemented in terms of make sure that bad people's money is not mixed with good people's money or something like that. They also have an additional interesting component, which is also centralized, but it's permissionless. And it's the component that optimizes the calculations because, obviously creating zero knowledge proofs on Ethereum is very expensive. So they have this additional component that make these optimized calculations off chain. And this is also an interesting kind of improvement. So it's basically kind of integrated DK rollup in essence inside this protocol. The third point is that they don't have an implementation yet, so there is no source available, even though they claim to be launching very soon, but there is no linked anywhere on their website. I looked. So it is interesting to take a look at it once it's published. Obviously, I hope it will be also audited, and we will continue to monitor this project. It looks interesting. They got recently an investment of about 6 million from several large companies, and it's also rumored that Vitalik supports them in some capacity. Not clear which, but that's the story of Nocturne.
That sounds interesting. Does it have any similarity to, or at least to me, it sounds like it has some similarities to that we discussed not that long ago. There was code, I think, by Vitalik and Amin and a couple of others.
Yeah, it's a little bit more specific, I think, than that paper. But it follows the same idea of preventing the mixing of funds, in advance, essentially from trying to guarantee that good money is not that mixed with bad money, so to speak, and in an attempt to avoid money laundering and other issues. So as I said, like we will monitor what's happening with this project, because definitely everything that's related to privacy is interesting, and privacy in Ethereum is a hot topic. In general, privacy is a hot topic, and I also think that it is unfortunate, but every time there is some crazy happens in the world, like it does right now, privacy is also one of the things that are being attacked immediately. And we also already we heard these stories about terrorists using crypto and all that, as if they were using anything else, it was different. If terrorists use dollars, what should you do? You should abolish and restrict dollars. But everything that can be used against privacy and against crypto will probably be used this way. So no surprises here. What else is interesting before we go into our main topic tonight, which is going to be about Beam and the hard fork, the Beam version 8. I don't know if you're following the BF trial. It's actually been rather boring, I think, except for several revelations about how creative things were there, and how interestingly all of those funds from users were used for different purposes. But I didn't, dive deep into what's happening there, other than listening to reporting on the news. What else? We also have some questions that accumulated over the week, several weeks that we were off. So we'll talk about them as well. Okay. You still there, guys? Just checking in. Now, Gus has connection issues, so he will be back once the trade arrives. Okay, so in the meantime, let's talk about what's happening in Beam right now. And so the first thing that's happening is Beam, somebody stole our name, and it's actually quite surprising, because usually it's considered, I think, a good taste to check whether the ticker symbols and the names that you for your currencies has been taken. At least that's what I thought. Now it turns out that some strange project, which I'm not even sure what it does, just registered the name Beam and also BeamX maybe, right? So that's what I heard. Does anyone know what this project even does? Can somebody tell me somewhere by raising a hand or by typing it somewhere, the community, whatever? Because I didn't even have time to look what they're doing. Yeah, but it's listed, I think, on maybe on Binance and on some other exchanges. Maybe not on Binance, on Bybit. So it's listed anywhere and it has exactly the same ticker as ours. Yeah, so very difficult to say what it's doing. So, okay, other than that, in Beam world, we are currently working on the next version, which is 8.0, the next hard fork version. And in addition to the EVM that we have been talking about for a long time and it's moving forward as well, we also saw that it would be an idea to make some changes in our wallets and also obviously fix some issues that kind of accumulated along the way. But not only, in my opinion, we want to not only just fix things, but I think we also could use a redesign or like a facelift or some changes in the UX because of several reasons. So first of all, the current version of the Beam wallet was, in terms of like UX and layout, was almost unchanged for 5 years. And a lot of features accumulated. The toolbar on the left, the menu bar became like larger, and eventually could like no longer contain all of the features that we have, especially in lower resolution screens. So we thought, like I thought, and like it's something that we want to discuss, obviously, with everyone in the community, that it would be a good idea to organize the functionality within the Beam wallet a little bit differently. So one of the suggestions that I want to start with is to make a swap functionality kind of a key button alongside the send and receive. So right now we have two types of swaps. We have the atomic swaps and we have the asset swaps. Asset swaps are obviously used more often, though they are used much less since we have the DEX, but still these two kinds of swaps can be united. So instead of having two separate buttons right now in the left bar of the menu in the desktop wallet, I thought it might be an interesting idea to put it together with the send receive. That's so you get send receive and swap. This is actually something that different wallets are doing, even though they're doing it for different reasons. One of the reasons most wallets, especially on the Ethereum ecosystem, make swap a very prominent functionality is because this is one of the ways that these wallets make money by promoting some swaps and then taking commission on those swaps. So in our case, obviously, the wallet doesn't add any additional commission and nobody's profiting, but still it will look more consistent. It will simplify the experience because the word swap will be, right there in the button together with send and receive. And instead of trying to understand what is these two arrows and this, Ghetto thing, what they're doing and what is there, it will be clear. You click on the swap and then inside that screen, there will be two tabs or two sections for asset swaps and atomic swaps, which, as you know, are very similar in their look and feel intentionally because they're similar in their functionality. So this is like the first step. And this will remove two buttons from, like 10 that we have right now on the left side. Obviously, everything I say is completely up for discussion, and I'll also create a list of all these suggestions and publish them on Twitter, the community, and we'll discuss them. So it's just kind of the ideas that we're having. Then the next icon is the DApp Store. DApp Store, I think, can have there are two changes that I would like to propose. The first one is to make the applications part of the main screen. So when you open the wallet, right now, you see your assets on the top, and then you see the list of transactions. And it was okay when we first started. We only had, send and receive functionality. The transactions were basically the most important thing that you had. But this is no longer the case today when we have smart contracts and decentralized applications. So I think it would be much more usable to these applications on the main screen without having to go to a specific menu for this purpose. And right now we have applications that were built by Beam team, and we also have applications that were deployed by third parties. and we will like have a couple of sections to kind of combine all of that, filter. You can also click on favorite and see the application that you use the most on the main screen without having to go anywhere. And the transactions can move aside a little bit to some tab, and or maybe another screen that is kind of adjacent to the DApp Store that will be the first thing you see as you go in there. The second improvement, which is very important in my opinion, and we talked about it for a while, is getting rid of the centralized part of the DApp Store. Right now, we have the applications that are deployed through the IPFS and the smart contract in a decentralized way, but we also have some applications that for historical reasons were hosted by kind of a server, just serving the list of those applications. So instead, what we think about doing is to bundle all of these applications inside the wallet distribution. So it's basically a DApp file renamed archive with all of the application components. And then you will be able to run it completely locally. So at the same time, we will remove the dependency on that server, and we will also allow users to kind of host their applications completely locally, no interference, no problem, no censorship. And when the new version of the application is released, it can be easily updated as basically replacing this archive file. And as part of the wallet functionality, just update button, get new file, and these files can be easily distributed either through IPFS or through GitHub or through any other location with obviously and hash and everything. So I think it will be a very welcome improvement that is long overdue. And as a result, it will also get rid of all of the buttons that you have today. One is for the DApp Store, and then you have a separate button for the DAO and for the vote and for the bridges. So you will see, like, as you open your wallet, you will see all of the applications immediately available, installed locally on your machine with the wallet installation. So it's going to be amazing. Another important improvement that, like for those who are following, probably you saw that there is a 7.4 version, which is on GitHub, but it was not officially announced, and it's kind of stuck in the middle of a release in some way. And the reason for that is because one of the things that we did in the 7.4 is we got rid of these kind of separate executables for different blockchains. Like we have the mainnet and we have the DAppNet. Previously it was like two completely separate executables that you would download. I want to run DAppNet, I want to run mainnet. So I have two beams installed. So one of the things that we did, we have integrated in wallet support, like backend support for that, but we didn't properly design and implement the front end. So this is what we're doing right now. And the end result is that when you launch your wallet, you will just be able to select whether you want it to be a DAppNet wallet or a mainnet wallet. And this is how it will launch. The second part of this improvement is that you will also be able to run multiple different wallets with multiple different seeds at the same time. So most of you who are probably power users and have several different wallets maybe, so you either have several installations with a rather inconvenient configuration, or you're doing what I'm doing, is basically just copying the folder of the wallet files over and then replacing it with the other one. So I have the folders on my computer saying like wallet 1, wallet 2, and stuff like that. And then I just copy the one that I want to launch right now. So instead of all this hassle, what we want to do is just implement ability to add wallet within your existing screen and just enter new seed, restore, or create a new one, and then easily switch between them with obviously naming each and every one of those some labels, so it will be easier to distinguish. This is the wallet for my, purchases, and this is the wallet for my trading or whatever. This is also, in my opinion, going to be a very interesting improvement. Now, once we are like in this kind of optimization area, I think that we also are going to improve the settings that we have right now. So we have several once again, one of the things that changed over the years, first of all, we added functionality, but also as we added this functionality, the way that we use Beam Wallet has changed in many different ways. So what are the examples of what I'm talking about? So for example, first of all, I think that everything regarding the public offline address and like offline addresses in general. Maybe we only implemented it inside the settings was that we wanted to not necessarily encourage people to use public offline address, but I think that we saw that it is useful in many cases. So I think we could make it more prominent as a result. There are also some very kind of complicated things about allowing to launch applications, say yes or no, like maximum unity set size. So all of these can be simplified, I think. And as a result, this entire kind of settings will be made faster and more compact, which in my opinion is going to be better for our users in many ways. The address book is one of these things. Basically, we didn't touch, and nobody, I think, uses it because with the previous scheme of SBBS addresses all the time, it was almost completely unusable. However, since we added these signatures that, from one signature, you can generate many different addresses. So the address SBBS address has become important, and the signature is actually what provides you the ability to understand who are you sending funds to, right? And then you can use that as your basis for the address book. So we can also improve the address book along the way, but this is probably the least important or last priority, unless somebody tells me otherwise. I personally don't use address book, but once again, I'm not a typical user, so maybe other people think that it's important to have it and to use it. Yeah. So these are the sources that we have so far. And we're still working, we're still thinking, and you are more than welcome. Obviously, I will publish everything that I just said, so we can also react to that and read it. But if you have any additional ideas, as usual, please ask Telegram or Twitter or whatever. Anyone has any questions or thoughts about that?
I don't have any questions, but I'll have a look in the Telegram chat. Was going to say the idea that you mentioned about being able to run multiple wallets with different seeds and that kind of thing from the same wallet. This has been requested a little bit, and I think will be really useful for me personally as well. I don't run quite as sophisticated setup as you. I have one computer for each wallet, and often have to find the computer with the wallet on it.
Oh, yeah. So I think it will really, help you to get rid of some computers.
Yeah, one's recently become the dedicated Minecraft machine, so I struggle to get onto it, even at the best of times.
Okay, yeah. So you will have spare hardware after this update. Yeah. So let's talk about this before, because usually we leave those questions to the end, and then most of them or some of them, remain unanswered. So let me find my list here. Actually, some of those questions, as I see, we have discussed it in the previous space. It was a long time ago, but we talked about the high frequency transactions and what's their TPS and how they work. So I will not talk about that. One question is about max payment amount for CA. I think we discussed it as well, this one specifically, right? Yeah, I think we did.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. I think we also talked, because I just remember, it was a long time ago, it was like a month ago, but I do remember talking about these ideas. Like one of the ideas was to create BRC inscriptions on UTXOs. I don't know, is it still a thing? I think the Fed there has faded, right?
I remember this question, I believe, came on Dirty Rusky. I don't know. I think soon after it became a big thing, everything crypto kind of quietened down for a while. I guess the prices were going on this kind of thing, and at least a lot of activity kind of petered away. But now that prices are going up, I believe, maybe the attention to inscriptions is also going up, but I haven't seen too much about it.
I don't know. I think that, everything changes so fast that if you don't implement something in the next 2 hours after it becomes popular, you're already late. But one thing that there is another question about what is the miner APY? Liquidity miner APY in dApps. Yeah, so this is actually something that I would say is part of a bigger kind of chunk of functionality that we really, really wanted to do, but kind of didn't manage it. And it's basically one of the issues with all these applications today is that you have to go inside each application to state of what your positions are doing and what's happening, right? And so this is also true in Ethereum, but in Ethereum, you have all of these, applications like the Zone Zapper, and they aggregate their positions. And the reason they can do that is because they see everything on the blockchain. It's completely transparent. So you just provide them with your wallet address, and they can scan everything. They can see everything that you're doing. Now, in Ethereum, that is not the case. So nobody can see what you're doing. So you need to have your wallet with your private key to get most of this information and make sense of it. And one of the things that we were thinking back in the day is to have this kind of API that allows you to expose, like each application exposes some kind of basic facts about it. And then you can aggregate those into some kind of dashboard. So you immediately, without going into the application, you can see some important things like how many positions you have, like what's the total value locked, like for you or for application in general. But unfortunately, we didn't get to it. If anyone wants to work on that, it's mostly web development. It doesn't require C++ or going deep into the Nimble window. So you're more than welcome to contact me if you have some capacity to work on that. We can even organize, I think, some bounty. I cannot promise any numbers, but I think it will be possible to do that, and it will provide really great value, to be able to do that. Especially now that we are working on the version 8.0 anyway, and we are rebuilding those screens. If anyone wants to work on that, we will just kind of together. So yeah, please contact me if you do. So one thing that's not directly related to Beam or in general, but we see two things right now. Like we see that there are new privacy projects like this Nocturne thing or others that are popping up. And we also hear a lot of people saying, oh, privacy is going to be big very soon. So you heard it as well, Gus, right? It's not just me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it happens every few months and this kind of thing, where more attention goes on onto privacy, especially when there's sick things happening around the world, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah. So the point is that like I hear that, but I don't really see it. I mean, maybe I'm missing something. If you see some real indications for that, please send them to the channel, to community channel, or me, because I really want to believe this, and I try to understand, because one of the reason I do that is not just because I'm curious, but also because I want to find new ways to apply Beam technology and integrate new projects, integrate new things, new collaborations. But the reality is that, yes, we have these very well-established players. Monero, obviously, Zcash, I didn't hear about them for a while. I don't know, maybe I'm following the wrong channels, but I didn't see many news about them. But in general, we see a lot of talk about privacy of Ethereum, how important it is, and blah, blah, blah. But I don't see a lot of actual, kind of results as of now. I think it's important for us as a community to see those things. That's one point. So if you see anything like that, please send it. The second point is, during the previous spaces that we had before the craziness started and before the holidays, like if you ask yourself which holidays, that it was something in Israel, so don't bother about thinking about that. But we had a few guests, and it was very, very good, and to have guests and people who are talking about papers that they wrote and things like their opinions about the space. So if you have any additional suggestions for someone we can invite to our spaces, it was absolutely amazing. I had great time, and I learned a lot also. So please please do recommend someone that you think can talk about the topics that you just asked here. Like all recommendations are very welcome.
Absolutely. It was really nice to have guests on, and I'm sure we will have some in the future. I apologize if it's noisy on my end. I seem to have chosen the busiest street in Scotland to stand on. But yeah, even if you don't want to reach out to guests personally, you can let us know and we can reach out to them on Twitter or Telegram or this kind of thing and invite them on.
Yeah. I really admire your discipline because like I can go to Scotland. If I ever get to Scotland, I will just start drinking whiskey and then until I die, I will not be able to stop, probably. Or that's how I imagine it at least. But yes, sure, a nice place. How is the weather there? Is it raining?
There was like a big storm here and lots of flooding, but since we arrived, there hasn't much rain. It's been nice, although it is very cold. So whiskey drinking is more essential than usual.
It's a survival technique. Yeah. Okay. So, what else do we like? I really want to keep this space kind of focused on being 8.0 and what we're doing. So, especially since Garth is traveling, and I think what we're going to do, we're going to wrap it up relatively early today. And we've been off the air for a long time. It's been difficult kind of to get everything together because of all the situations, but we are back now in kind of more organized session. We have started working on 8.0, not only the EVM part, but also the wallet itself and all kind of surrounding ecosystem, bringing everything together. We will have halving in the beginning of next year, obviously, and we want to kind of time the release of these components around that. So things are starting to come together, and we are being more kind of focused on what we want to deliver for this next version. And so as a result, we will be doing our usual process of discussing all of these ideas. I will kind of get more focused on communicating that, collecting all the feedback. So it's going to be a busy like couple of like next month. Yeah, like as a result, I think it will look like it was, I think, some kind of month, that 2 or 3 months that there was relatively low activity. As a result, some people started to say that Bean is dead and, taking our name and putting it somewhere. So I just want to tell that two things to kind of summarize this relatively short space. One is that any rumors of our death are greatly exaggerated, and we are here and we're moving forward. And the second thing is I would like to thank all of the community that continue to be very active and support us and, move things forward, even when the team kind of faded for a couple of months, and there was less activity than usual, and definitely less than we wanted to have. So thank you very much. And, it's been great. And yeah, let's get started working on this next version, and it's going to be a big deal.
Absolutely, Alex. It's been a pleasure. Exciting times coming up with the halving, as you mentioned, and Beam 8.0.
Yeah, it's going to be nice. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. And yeah, we will continue working on our stuff. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Ciao. Bye-bye.
All that.